Hey guys, I thought that I would read you a bedtime story since I can't do read alouds during the day. So I'm going to sit here in my Napoleon Dynamite shirt with Bear, and we're going to read this great book called Countdown. This takes place during the Cold War, and this book is really written in a very interesting way. It has a lot of primary sources. It has essays written by our main character named Franny, and then of course it has the novel, which tells Franny's story about living during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Countdown by Deborah Wiles. Some of the pages I'm just going to show you. And some of the pages I'm going to read to you. This is a conversation that took place between John F. Kennedy and Nikita Khrushchev. Those are two really important names, fifth graders, that you're going to need to know. Kennedy says, "We have enough missiles to blow you up 30 times over." And Khrushchev replies, "We have enough to blow you up only once. Well, that will be enough for us." Can you imagine living in a time like that? Some of these signs are still hanging in downtown Commerce. If you walk around, you can see them still on the sides of buildings. Those are for fallout shelters. Duck and cover. You might ask your grandparents if they remember this. It's a really important day in history. We choose to go to the moon. Who do you think said that? Do you think they look scared? How would you feel? What do you think's happening? Chapter 1. I am 11 years old, and I am invisible. I am sitting at my desk in my classroom on a perfect autumn afternoon, Friday, October 19th, 1962. My desk is in the farthest row next to the windows. I squint into the sunshine and watch a brilliant gold leaf fall from a spindly old tree by the sidewalk. And then I open Makers of America to page 47 because it's social studies time. I love social studies, love everything about it, and most of all, I love to read aloud. Mrs. Rodriguez, my teacher, has skipped me twice this week. Twice! When we read aloud during social studies, going down each row, desk after desk. I am determined not to let that happen again. Mrs. Rodriguez wears square shoes with thick soles and glasses on a beaded string around her neck. After conferences last week, I heard Mom describe her to Daddy as thick-waisted. Her fingers are the strong, blunt kind that put me in mind of my grandmother, Miss Mattie, who runs a store in Mississippi and is always hauling around boxes of boots or barrels of pickles. Miss Mattie's fingernails are cut straight across, but Miss Rodriguez has short, painted nails that look like little triangles. I thought she liked me. When we practiced duck and cover under our desks the first week of school, my headband popped off my head and I didn't even try to retrieve it. I just kept my head down and let my hair fall over my face. Mrs. Rodriguez complimented me right in front of everyone and told me I was a perfect turtle. "Carol," she says now, "will you begin? Please, at the top of page 47. Carol's desk is in front of mine on the front row. She begins reading. "Enemy Indians attacked the marching men as they made their way through the wilderness. Fever laid many of them low, but they were not men to turn back. Day after day they passed on. At last, after 3 weeks, Balboa's Indian guide told him that if he would climb to the top of the mountain just ahead, he could look over to that other sea. Only a third of the Spaniards were strong enough to attempt the climb with their leader. But at the break of day, those men set out from the forest towards the bare mountain top." Carol finishes reading. We're getting to the good part. I read ahead. I am so determined not to be skipped again that I dangle myself over the desk as Carol reads. And then I incline sideways like the Leaning Tower of Pisa in an effort to make sure Mrs. Rodriguez sees me. I crick one foot around my chair leg for ballast. This is a slow and subtle maneuver. Thank you, Wordwelf Jr. I don't want the other kids to notice me, while at the same time I imagine Mrs. Rodriguez spotting me and saying, "Heavens to Murgatroyd, Franny, you are the best read-alouder in the entire 5th grade, and somehow I missed calling on you all week. Go ahead, dear, read away, read twice." Instead, Mrs. Rodriguez says, "Thank you, Carol. Jimmy, pick it up, please." I slump against the back of my chair like a lump of biscuit dough. I am thunderstruck, sick to my stomach. This makes 3 times Mrs. Rodriguez has jumped right over me. She must be doing it on purpose. She must be. Here I am, all set to read the part where Balboa tops the mountain rise and discovers a mighty ocean on the other side, but Jimmy Epps gets to read the heroics? He's a moron! All right, he's not a moron. I don't know what he is. I barely know him, but he's not a good reader. I know that. I start to raise my hand, to protest, to stick up for myself. But I can't. Even after 2 whole years in this school, I still feel too shy to speak up. I just don't have it in me. Jimmy, who picks his nose at recess, doesn't sound the tiniest bit heroic. He can't pronounce Isthmus of Panama. He stumbles all over the entire isthmus, and I get to read nothing. Nothing. In the entire social studies period. Again. I stop paying attention. I pull a thread out of my sweater and start knotting it in half-hitch the way Uncle Otts taught me. Kids drone on, one after the other, in order down the neat, straight rows, but I no longer hear them. Why does Miss Rodriguez hate me? Why? It makes my heart hurt, like it's a wash rag, and Mrs. Rodriguez just wrung it out and slapped it against the side of the sink. I can't stand to think about it anymore, so I focus on adjusting my headband. I'm wearing my best one today. The wide red one with little teeth on the bottom that comb my hair when I push it into my head. And then I look out the window to find something else to think about. The sun is blindingly beautiful this time of year. I cut my hands at my eyebrows to shield my eyes. There's my brother, Drew, Mr. Perfect, and all the other 3rd graders lining up on the playground to come inside. He doesn't look the least bit like the astronaut material. He's all angles and bones and too short. He looks like, well, a little bitty Uncle Otts. I'm going to tell him so on the way home from school. The bell rings. We never had bells in Hawaii, and Franny hater Mrs. Rodriguez proclaims, "Time for second recess, class." The 3rd grade marches into school, and the 5th graders march out. We don't pass one another. We are on opposite sides of the school, so Mr. Perfect and I don't see each other. That's fine with me. It's hard to be in the presence of saintliness all the time. I file past Mrs. Rodriguez, who is waiting to close the classroom door. She smiles at me as if nothing has happened, but I won't look at her. I look at the checkered floor, and I keep walking. "You have skipped me 3 times, I telegraph to her as the pit of my stomach burps my lunch into my throat. You probably don't even remember my name." The darkness of the hallway blinds me. I am still surprised by the hallways with no windows and the closed-in way people go to school in Maryland. At Pearl Harbor Elementary School, the hallways had no walls. The classrooms had windows on both sides. Sunshine drenched everything. Camp Springs Elementary School feels like a cave. I trudge down the steps, past the new black and yellow signs that look like bumblebee bullseyes, and step into the sunlight, and the noise of the kids who have been set free, free, free. But I feel deflated, which is almost worse than invisible. I've forgotten my book, The Clue in the Diary, my newest Nancy Drew, and without a book, I don't want to be alone at recess. It looks bad, and people think there's something wrong with you if you're alone at recess. Already there's a kickball game going on. Do I want to play kickball? No, I'm a terrible kicker. Do I want to play jacks with Carol and Marcy? No, they don't like me that much. Do I want to jump rope? I'm a great jump roper. And there's my best friend, Margie, in the jump rope line, waiting her turn. She's deep in conversation with Gail Hoffman, a girl who lives in the neighborhood behind ours, whose mother lets her wear lipstick already and do whatever she wants. When Gail went trick-or-treating last year, she knocked on our door at 8 o'clock when everybody else was already long home. I was upstairs trading candy with Drew, but I heard everything. Mom answered the door, gave Dale a Tootsie Roll, and told her to go home. It was too late to be out trick-or-treating. Even my toes were embarrassed. Gail's mother is divorced, and Mom doesn't want me associating with Gail. But Margie likes her, and Margie's mother doesn't seem to mind. I hold my head high and make for the jump rope line. Hey, Pixie! I yell at Margie, waving. 8 girls look my way. I hate that. Margie lifts a hand in return. Hey, Dixie, she says, but she doesn't sound enthusiastic. She brightens when she says, Gail has the best idea for a Halloween costume. Oh, yeah? I risk a big smile for Gail and hope she'll smile back. What is it? But before Gail can smile, before anyone can answer, the sky cracks open with a wide, ear-splitting, shrieking wail. It's the air raid siren. Screaming its horrible scream in the playground, high over our heads on a 1,000-foot telephone pole, and we are outside. Outside. No desk, no turtle, no cover. We are all about to die. And that is the end of chapter 1.